G'day champions, today we'll be having a look at the top 3 mid lane champions in Wild Rift for patch 2.1. With that, I'll also be giving you a build for each champion, also including their runes and spells. With that also, their leveling order, so you can just jump right into the Rift. It's kind of like a mini guide for each champion who are currently the strongest. My name is Teeds. If you're new here, feel free to subscribe and click the bell for more Wild Rift guides. Just a disclaimer, the builds in this video are builds used by high-level ranked players. Builds depend on each game and situation, but for this video, I'll just be giving you a general build for each champion to get you started. Now, this is just a quick in and out video. I have more in-depth guides for some of these champions already, which I'll have linked below. If I don't yet, I'll be making them soon, so please subscribe if you'd like to be notified. Let's jump into it. First, we have Ahri. Ahri is a mage assassin and one of the champions you'll have for free. Ahri deals mostly magical damage and has mobility. She's not the easiest to play, but with some practice, I'm sure you'll be dominating with her in the middle lane. Ahri has wave clear, crowd control, mobility, burst, and sustain. Here's a quick rundown of her abilities. Her passive: when Ahri hits a target with an ability, she'll gain stacks. With enough stacks, her next ability that hits an enemy will heal her. This passive basically gives her some sustain in lane. Her first ability, she sends out an orb dealing magical damage on the way out and true damage on the way back. This means the orb back to her will ignore any defense items the enemy champion may have. Her second ability, she gains a brief burst of movement speed and releases 3 foxfires that lock onto and attack nearby enemies. Her third ability is her crowd control. She blows a kiss that damages and charms an enemy towards her. It will stop enemy movement abilities and the target will temporarily take increased damage from Ahri. And lastly, her ultimate, Spirit Rush. Ahri dashes forward and fires essence bolts, damaging nearby enemies. Apart from her second ability, this ultimate is also her mobility, and she can cast this up to 3 times before it goes on cooldown. So basically you'll have a little pause in between and you can use abilities in between those dashes, so it kind of closes a gap between enemies and helps you get out as well. For the first 5 levels, you want to go 1, 3, 2, 1, 4. Then you want to prioritize maxing out her ultimate, her first ability, her second ability, and then lastly her third ability. Now for the builds and runes for Ahri. For her build, Rod of Ages, Liandry's Torment, Ionian Boots into Ionian Protobelt, Rabadon's Death Cap, Morolonomicon, and Void Staff. For her runes, Electrocute, Brutal, Regeneration, and Genius. For spells, you want to pick up Ignite and Flash. Next, we have Orianna. Orianna is a mage and support, but she's mainly played as a mid laner and is pretty strong. She has a strong and safe laning phase with lots of poke and gives a lot of damage as well as utility for her team due to her also being a support. Orianna is pretty unique, and because of this, she can be a little more difficult than other mid laners, but with consistent practice, a mastered Orianna is terrifying. Orianna's passive grants her increased damage on her auto attacks. This damage increases the more Orianna attacks the same target. Orianna's first ability commands her ball to fire forward and deals magical damage to targets along the way. Her ball will remain at the target location after, and you can control the ball from that location. If you want the ball on you, you can walk over it or pick it up, otherwise it will automatically come back if you're very far away from it. Orianna's second ability, she commands her ball to release energy that deals magical damage around it. This will leave a field behind that speeds up allies and slows enemies, giving her some crowd control and buffs the allies. So you can basically place a ball on top of an ally or enemy and then use this ability. Orianna's 3, she commands her ball to attach to an allied champion. It will shield them and deal magical damage to any enemies it passes through on the way. It will also grant protections to the champion it is attached to. You can also use this ability to call the ball back to you if it's not on you. And for Orianna's ultimate, she'll command her ball to unleash a shockwave that will deal magical damage and launch nearby enemies towards the ball, after a short delay. This will give her some more crowd control and setup. Her ultimate can turn a whole fight into your team's favor. So basically, using her abilities while the ball is out on the battlefield will cause the damage and effects around the ball. If the ball is on Orianna or an ally, it would affect those around Orianna or the ally. For her abilities in the first 5 levels, 1, 2, 3, 1, 4. Then you want to prioritize maxing out her ultimate, her first ability, her second ability, and then lastly her third ability. For her build, Luden's Echo, Ionian Boots into Ionian Stasis, Archangel Staff, Rabadon's Death Cap, Infinity Orb, and Void Staff. For her runes, Conqueror, Brutal, Spirit Walker, and Mastermind. And for her spells, Barrier and Flash. Lastly, we have Zed. Zed is an assassin and he is pretty difficult to play in comparison to other mid laners. However, he is extremely strong and he can take out a champion pretty easily. He can easily snowball early game and has incredible amounts of burst, so this makes it really important for Zed to prioritize high threat targets. He has great 1v1 and can scale really well into the late game if you dominate with him early. He has a shadow which he can switch places with, granting him safety, and his shadow can also deal damage. For Zed's passive, his attacks against enemies below 50% health deal bonus magical damage equal to 7% of their maximum health. This means you can kill enemies who are already low HP pretty easily. For Zed's first ability, he and his shadows throw shurikens, each dealing physical damage. This will go through enemies and hit all in its path. Its great perk and range can help you farm safely. Zed's second ability grants him energy when an ability strikes the same target twice. Energy can be gained once per cast ability. Zed's shadow dashes forward, stay in place for a short period, and reactivating this ability will cause Zed to swap positions with his shadow. It's basically a teleport / mobility and can help him get in and out of fights. Zed's 3 will cause him and his shadows to spin in a circle, dealing damage to enemies in radius. This is great perk. Basically what you want to do is throw your second ability close to the enemy and then use your third ability. This will deal damage to them and poke them out while from a safe distance. And for Zed's ultimate, Zed will become untargetable and he dashes to an enemy champion, marking them. The mark triggers after a few seconds, repeating a portion of all the damage Zed dealt to the target while they are marked. A shadow will be left behind and can reactivate Death Mark to switch places with the shadow. So basically, if you use this ultimate and then you're out of position, you can basically click on this ultimate again and it will teleport you back, which is really nice. And also, when you want to use this ultimate, you want to make sure all your abilities are up, and then you want to go in with your ultimate, use all of your abilities, because the more damage you deal, the more damage the ultimate will do when it repeats the damage. Not only that, but it gives you another clone. You want to have as many clones as you can out there, so you want to have like 3 clones at once to deal the most damage possible. Another important thing to remember is that with Zed's clone, his first ability will also come out of the clone as well, so you can basically do double damage with the clone and your one. Obviously this can be a little bit hard to do, it requires a lot of good positioning, but with practice, you will become crazy good at Zed. Again, a mastered Zed is terrifying. So for the first 5 levels, you want to go 1, 3, 2, 1, 4. Then you want to prioritize maxing out his ultimate, then his first ability, third ability, and lastly second ability. For Zed's build, you move Ghostblade, Dustblade of Drakthar, Ionian Boots into Ionian Protobelt, Black Cleaver, Mortal Reminder, and Guardian Angel. For runes, you want to go Electrocute, Champion, Conditioning, and Mastermind. And lastly for spells, Ignite and Flash. And that is all for the top 3 current mid laners in Wild Rift for patch 2.1. Next up, top 3 marksman / ADC. Subscribe and click the bell to be notified for this video. I'm very excited to make it. This was really fun. I got to try out a bunch of new champions for this video and I did so well with them. They were super strong. So I hope you guys experience the same thing as well. Like the video if you found this video helpful. I hope to see you again for the next one, champions. Bye!